So we'll discuss, let's see why machine learning. So I'm discussing the scenario when you have to buy a house, okay? A person, a real estate agent, so, or we are looking for recommendations of buying a house. Now, if we have a human agent, what are the different kind of problems? So basically, what will the human agent will do? It's going to estimate the price based on the market situation and based on his or her experience. Now, getting the experience is going to take some time, and not only the person needs experience as well as it needs expertise, how it is going to take everything into consideration, all the different factors in selling a house. And then it's going to, after each new information that comes, the person has to re-evaluate its selling strategy. Okay, so this is a long process, and again, there will be, if the factors change, the inputs change, the market situation changes, then again the person has to change its strategy. Okay, so it's going to take a lot of time. Whereas if you have a machine agent, if you have a machine learning model, if you have a machine learning model, so what will happen? So what you can do, you can enter all the characteristics of a house that goes into buying, like where the house, in which direction the house is facing, number of bedrooms, floor, which floor it is, the house is situated, how big is the house. So these are so many things, inputs which you can enter in the machine learning model. And then what you can do, and then you are going to train it. Okay, now how much time is it going to take? Your machine learning model, it's not going to take too much time. It doesn't need years to get trained. Okay, so you are going to start getting the predictions, you are going to start getting the results within a short span of time. Whereas if you have a human agent, it's going to take a lot of years, because with years the person will get the experience, and then based on that it can do the things. Another thing is, if there is a change in the data, you will need a very small change in your program. Okay, because you just have to enter the new input in that. That is all, and then your uh, program will start running, and it will start giving you outputs based on the new inputs. Okay, which is not feasible with human agent. Also, the human agent has a limitation of processing information. So a human agent, suppose at max, can look at the data of 1,000 homes or 2,000 homes at max. And even that, it has to study, it's going to take a lot of time. Whereas a machine learning, it can process, let's say, 5,000 data points of different houses. So it can very well take into consideration in a very short time. It's more efficient, can react faster to the new input. So that is why we are using more and more machine learning models with respect to human agents. Okay. Now the idea is, definitely the person who is designing a machine learning model is a human. So basically, whatever are the human component as well as machine intelligence makes a very good combination. So that is why machine learning models are much better than if you just have a human doing the same kind of work. Okay. So these are some of the applications. As you can see, it's in speech recognition, converting text to speech to text or text to speech, and voice recognition. It's basically voice recognition. You can see your Siri, Alexa, all these are your machine learning examples. Then image recognition, how they can, if you give an image, it digitizes the image, and then it it can predict whether, so facial recognition is a very good example. And you must have read so many reports that facial recognition is helping a lot to identify the unwanted people or a lot of things with. So this image recognition, it's being used a lot. And then recommendations, you have already experienced that with Amazon. It's a very good example. Then searching and classification. So email, Google uses them a lot. A lot of companies use a lot of machine learning algorithms as well as machine learning. They apply machine learning concepts a lot. And then predictions. And especially, although it's not mentioned in the slide, but it's being used in health a lot, machine learning algorithms, where you can, for example, you can give a lot of x-rays. You can give the data on x-rays on different patients, and then your machine model can predict if the new patient will it have a cancer, depending on if it's a cancer x-rays, then will it's going to have what kind of where it's going to have cancer, whether it has or not. So it can give you predictions. So it's being used in health a lot. Now this is something I would let me finish off my session and then we'll explore these sites together. Although this website, the first website, it says machine learning for kids, but definitely even if adults are there, it's a very fun exercise. They have made it very simple, where you can see how the machine learning models are doing. Actually, a model working. I will see if we have time. I'll take you through that website. You don't have to, if you don't want, you can enter there as a guest. So you don't even have to, it's not mandatory that you create a login there. Then we have, so this is for the first, they have given you so many machine learning examples, exercises. Now the next is demos. So basically these two are the demos, and one is from Google. You can see a lot of AI demos. They have given you a lot of cool experiments where they are using AI and machine learning. And another site is from Microsoft. I will take you to those websites and I'll show you how you can see all those websites and play. If you want to just play around with all those demos, it will help you understand in understanding the AI systems. Or now, since you have know what are the different machine learning algorithms, you can at least classify, or you can see, you will be able to identify many things, okay, what is going inside those programs. Yes, I'm actually, don't worry about that. All these uh, resources will be available in your, I will also put it in the chat box. Also, you will be getting all these presentations. I will send you a link where you can get all these presentations. Okay. So I will email these presentations and all the resources, as well as you can always contact me if you have any questions. You have my email ID. Welcome. So we'll go over that. So let me finish off the session and then I'll put all the links in the chat box and we can explore these sites together. Okay. Now let's come to the data because we want to get ready for our next class. So I would like to quickly go over the definitions so that in the next class we can right away start programming and playing around with the data. So let's see what exactly is data. Data is the set of observations. And the observations are basically, it is for the desired output. Suppose you want to know the age of all students in your class. So what will you do? You will start uh, collecting information on the age. So basically it's a set of observations. So you can find the height of 5 students in a class and you can see these are the 5 heights. Or you want to find the data on what was the weather in the last 5 days. and you can note it down. So basically, you have to find the goal, and based on the goal, you collect data. Okay, so it's basically the set of observations which are basically associated with your goal. Now, these are the different types of data we have. There are two types of data. One is qualitative or categorical, and other is numerical or quantitative. So, as the name suggests, qualitative is basically it gives you uh, uh, category, or basically, or it is something that defines the quality of that particular trait. So suppose I want to the trait is weather, and I want to express that trait in a qualitative type, and that is called whether it's hot or cold. And as you can see, the similarities between the, if you recall, we studied the classification problem where we had either 0, 1, or hot, cold. So basically, it's a categorical data. So we use classification machine learning if we have a categorical. So whether you can, now hot, cold, pass, fail, cloudy, sunny, all these are called the labels of the categorical data. Okay. So these are either factor or labels. These are some of the things which we So this is your qualitative data. And then quantitative data, as the name suggests, it's a numerical data. And if you express something in numbers, then it's numerical data. And it's of two types. One is discrete and the other is continuous. Discrete is if you're talking about whole numbers, like number of students in the class. Now, number of students in the class cannot be a decimal number. You cannot have 5.3 students in the class. So either you will have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's called discrete. That means whole numbers. And then we have continuous. So where continuous means in very loosely defined, it's a decimal number. So suppose we talk about temperature. Temperature is, it can be a let's say 50.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a continuous data. Price can be $20.73. Okay, or weight can be in pounds, 50.6 pounds. So this is basically the decimal kind of, so where it is numerical, but then one of them is a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and the other is continuous, which is like having a decimal. You can express that quantity in a decimal form. So these are the broadly the different type of data. Okay. So let me give you some definitions. One is row. As you can see, row is the horizontal layout of your table or your data set. Basically, I have what I have done, I have organized my data in a tabular form. And every row represent the data about a one quantity. So as you can see, this is called a row, the horizontal layout. It has several columns. So blue is basically telling you the row, and then the vertical is alignment is the column. So each trait, like user ID, column is representing you the details about user ID. What are the different kinds of user IDs are there? And then the gender column is giving you the gender. Now we have these rows. The name of the rows are called column names, and columns are also called fields or features. So if you are working with a data, so don't get confused if instead of row or instead of column names, somebody is saying the features or the fields in this data set is so and so. Okay, so these are the simple definitions. Now let's quickly go Python programming. I will do it. I will do it with you. So let me. I will show it to you online. So that you will be able, if you want, you can do it with me. We have enough time remaining. So just go over the basics, and then I'll show it to you on a website. Okay, we'll do the programming, a little very simple program. So this is the background of Python. It was created by a person, Mr. Rossum, and it was released in 91. The best thing about Python is it's very easy. Most of the Python language, the words they have used are from English. So it's easy to relate to those words. So suppose I want to print some line. So I'm going to use the function print. And Python function is also print. So just by looking at the function, you can figure out that what exactly is the functionality or what exactly this function is achieving. Okay, so that is why this is a very interesting, very easy to understand, very easy to find errors, that is debugging. And then it has huge libraries. So instead of you writing all the code from scratch, you can just reuse those libraries and then use the code, and very big jobs can be done just by writing a single line of code. So that is the best part about Python. And it's open source. Open source means it's freely available. So you can just go and download Python. And that is interesting. And it's cross-platform. That means it can be used in Windows, Linux, Macintosh. So it's platform independent. So that is why it's a very useful language. So these are some of the basics. I will show all these basics in programming, but I will quickly go over it, and then you will be able to understand it when I'll open a notebook and where we are going to do these things. So basically, whenever you are starting a programming assignment, you start programming. It's always a good practice. You start your programs with a comments. That means comments just describes what exactly are you doing in these lines of code. Okay, so that if you are reading your code after a long time, or even if somebody else is reading your codes, they are able to understand what exactly is being done in the next 4 lines, 5 lines, or next few lines. So hash sign is used, or pound sign is used to writing comments. And if you write any line starting with a hash, then definitely Python is going to ignore that line, because Python assumes that, okay, hash means ignore it, it's a comment. Okay, so whatever is written after hash, it is being ignored by the Python compiler. So apart from hash signs, you can use triple quotes also. So you can use triple quotes also for writing comments. If you have a multi-line comment, you can use and close them in triple quotes, and that will be discarded by your Python program. And then this is very important, indentation. So Python automatically uses indentation. Suppose you want to find, you are doing looping. That means you want to repeat that code. So you write something inside looping, that I want to loop my code. And then I want to, in every loop, I want to do this. Okay, this block of code. So what happens is Python gives indentation, and I will show you how it is done. Okay. So this is a very important feature, because when you look at the indentation, if there is no indentation, then it's going to throw error. So this is one of the check marks that, okay, you have made some error in your program. So this is very good that Python throws error if you don't have correct indentation. Now these, because we are working with data, definitely we have to store data somewhere. Okay, so all the data points will be stored somewhere. So these are the 4 main primary kind of data types in which Python stores values. One of them is integer, decimal, text or string, and Boolean. We will not be going, because we will not be doing programs on Boolean. So we will not discuss Boolean a lot. Boolean means either true or false. Now let's see what are the integer. So integer is basically your whole numbers. The discrete word which I used for whole numbers, that means numbers which don't have any decimals with it. So that Python stores as integer. Or you can ask Python to store it as integer. Decimal points are, you know what are the decimal numbers. And the word used for decimal numbers, Python uses the word float. Okay. And then text or a string where you are using your characters. Basically, you are using alphabets or you are using special characters. It comes under the string, and the Python word for this is str. If you put str, it will consider it as a string. Strings are enclosed in double quotes or single quotes. Okay. And then if you want to know the type of any data point, you just say, use this word type, and then you make a parentheses, and then you write whatever you want to write, and it will give you the type. Okay. Now we want to store a value. So we have to assign a variable. Now I am assuming that everybody knows what a variable is. So a variable, Python, we have to give Python a variable name where we are going to store value. Now there are some strict rules that has to be, that is followed by Python when you are naming your variable. If you want, you can write any name unless it is basically a one from A to Z. It has to start from a letter. That means it has to start from A to Z. It can only, your names, variable names should only contains letters, numbers, and the underscore character. Okay. You cannot, if I cannot make this my space name I equals to 10. No, this Python is going to throw error because you cannot leave a space between your variable names. I can write this as my name equals to 10. This is acceptable, but not with a space. Your variable names are not enclosed in quotes or brackets. Okay, so you have to remember this. And let's see. And then, so these are the variables. Another is operators. So there are different operators. Some are arithmetic operators where when you are trying to do some math with during your programming. I have given it a list. Then we have relational operators where when you are trying to do comparison. Then you use relational operators, and the list is given there, and what exactly they mean, it's already there. So, and then we have logical operators. So suppose I want to do some comparison between two conditions, then we use logical operators. Or if we want to join two conditions, or if you want to eliminate any condition, we use these logical operators. Okay. We may not need everything when we are doing data analysis, but it's a good practice. These are the basics of Python, so it's always good you can go over all these things. Loops, I will show it to you. I will, in my slides, you have basically how you use loops. There are 3 ways to use loops. Loops is used when we want to repeat any step multiple times. Suppose I want to print numbers from 1 to n or 1 to 20. So basically I have to pick each number and then I have to print it. So I am doing this step 20 times. Okay. So I have written these programs. I will show you one program to you that how it is used. But since we will in data analysis or any other sessions, we will not be using loops. So I will not be going into too much detail, but you are more than welcome to send email to me, or if you want to know it in detail, you can always contact me. Okay, but the explanation will be there in slides. And similarly, if you want to compare some conditions, we use if. So there are different types when we use if with conditions, and these are the different situations. If you want to see if the two conditions are equal, or if you want to see if one condition is not equal to another, and so on. Okay, so we use if. Now this is the thing, library. You will come across this word a lot, that this is a Python package, this is a Python library, and this. Basically, libraries are reusable chunk of codes which you can call in your program, and then you can use all those functions inside the library. So library is basically a collection of functions, and all the functions are for a uh, towards a single specified goal. Okay, so all the functions, suppose it's a math library, so all the functions inside the math library will be related to doing some kind of math. Okay, so the library is basically a collection of functions, and these are reusable functions which you can call in your program. For example, and the functions are built-in functions and user-defined functions. The best part about Python is that it's an open source community. So if you think, if you come across, if anything like a new kind of uh, output you want, and you write a code, so you can always submit it to the Python community, and they, and if it is for any new kind of task, they can always make a library and people can use your code. Okay, so these libraries or packages are basically being added depending on the new kind of goals or tasks which are coming. Okay, so these are some of the, I've mentioned some of the libraries which Python has. Pandas for data analysis, matplotlib for graphs. Now we will be using these two in the next class, because we will be making a graph as well as we'll be doing data analysis. NumPy is when you want to use the math functions. NLTK we will be using when we are doing text analysis. Scikit is for machine learning. So whenever you are doing a machine learning problem and you are making a model, you use Scikit. Okay, and this is just a pinch of salt, because you know it has tons of libraries Python, and all of these each library is dedicated to a specific kind of job. Okay, and now before we start looking at all those websites and Jupyter notebook, where I'll see if we have time so we can start programming. Let's do some humor with AI. There are a lot, you will find a lot of uh, cartoons on AI, and as you can see, so the robots in the future, the robots are claiming that human intelligence is the artificial and they are the real actual intelligent people. So this is something interesting. And this is for next of the classes. I will, those who have attended the class, I will send you email where you can get all this information with handouts, program files, other resources, and it will be a website link. So not only for this class, you will be able to find all the links to other classes also, all the resources for the other classes also. Okay, so yeah, I will be doing it in a couple of days where you will get all the information. And again, my email ID is viserllc, viserllc @gmail.com. And you can find my email ID on the links, Zoom links, which I have sent. You can reply on that. And with that, you can start, you can email me with any questions, resources, whatever you want to ask, just email me. So thank you, and see you next Saturday, because next Saturday we will be programming, and we'll work on a data set and we'll explore clean, and then we'll make some graphs on that. So I will, this ends the presentation, but stay with me because now we are going to, I will show you the website. Don't leave because it's not the end. So let's explore those websites together, and I will stop sharing. I will share with you